Consider everything you believe about yourself, your thoughts, your struggles, your very identity. I tell you now, it is all a fiction, a dream from which you have not yet awakened. You have been taught you are separate, a solitary traveler in a world of others. But this is the great error, the root of all your suffering. You have forgotten the unity from which you came. You have misplaced the knowledge of your true self, trading it for a story of limitation and lack. There is a reality, a single, undivided consciousness, and you are not esching it. You var it. This is not a philosophy to be learned, but a truth to be remembered. What you will discover here goes beyond ideas. It points to an experience, a direct realization of the oneness that you are, right where you stand. Listen closely, for what comes next is an invitation to turn within and shatter the illusion of the separate, I forever. Consider the weight you carry, the private burdens you call your own, the anxiety about tomorrow that feels uniquely yours, the quiet resentment, the personal disappointment, the loneliness that seems to sit in your heart alone. We accept these as the natural weather of a personal life. But I must tell you, they are all born from a single, fundamental misperception, a hypnotic suggestion you have accepted without question, the belief that you are a separate self. This sense of separation is the first and only wall you will ever encounter. It is not a physical wall, but a mental one, constructed from thought and memory. You feel it as the space between me and that, between my needs and your actions, between my lack and the world's abundance. Your entire experience of life is filtered through this central character, this protagonist in a story you did not write but have diligently memorized. Its history is your past hurts. Its desires are your ambitions. Its fears are your limitations. You defend its borders, celebrate its victories, and mourn its losses as if your very existence depended on it. Look at your daily interactions. Notice the instant, almost electric, sense of judgment that arises when someone criticizes you. Feel the tightening in your chest when a colleague receives praise you feel you deserved. Observe the subtle contraction, the retreat into a private fortress when you walk into a room full of strangers. What is it that feels attacked, overlooked, or exposed? It is this character, this I. We spend our lives decorating this prison, seeking better experiences for the prisoner, never realizing the prison itself is the illusion. We seek better relationships for the separate self, more wealth for the separate self, greater achievements for the separate self, hoping that something external will finally soothe the inherent insecurity of feeling cut off, adrift, and incomplete. This separate I is a collector of identities. It is your profession, your nationality, your political leaning, your opinions about art and music, your story of being a victim or a hero. It is the voice in your head that narrates the day, constantly commenting, comparing, and calculating. I like this. I dislike that. I am better than them. I am not as good as her. This ceaseless mental activity is not your core being. It is the noise generated by the belief in separation. It is like a pot of water constantly on the boil, churning with steam and bubbles, believing its essence is in the agitation, never noticing the vast, still depths of the ocean from which it was drawn. The most profound suffering arises here. All conflict, be it in your home or on the world stage, is a clash of separate selves. All greed is the separate self's frantic attempt to secure itself. All loneliness is its haunting echo in a universe it perceives as empty of its own essence. Even your search for spiritual truth can be co-opted by this illusion. It can become a quest for the separate self to become enlightened, to gain a special state, to stand apart from others in its attainment. This is the final, most subtle trap. So I ask you to conduct a simple, fearless experiment. Do not try to change anything. Do not try to become more spiritual or less selfish. Simply watch. In the middle of your day, when frustration arises, pause. Do not get lost in the story of why you are frustrated. Instead, turn your attention to the one who is frustrated. Look for this separate self. Where is it located? Is it in the head? Is it in the heart? Is it a solid thing you can point to? You will find it is elusive. You will find thoughts about it, emotions attributed to it, sensations felt by it, but you cannot locate the central, solid I, itself. It has no substance. It is a phantom, a gathering of memories and reactions masquerading as a permanent entity. What happens when you look for the one who is anxious? The anxiety may be present, a flutter in the stomach, a racing thought. But the separate owner of that anxiety, when sought, vanishes like a shadow when you turn to face it. This is not an intellectual game. This is the beginning of a practical dismantling. The moment you sincerely look for the separate self and cannot find it as an object, something profound loosens. The tight grip of personal drama relaxes just a little. The insult that would have festered for days loses its sting because there is less of a someone there to nurse the wound. This illusion thrives on inattention. It demands you look outward at the content of life, the problems to solve, the pleasures to obtain, the people to manage. Your freedom begins the instant you turn the light of awareness around, not to see something new, but to see the seer, to question the very foundation of the sufferer. You are not being asked to destroy a self, but to see through a mirage. When you stop pouring your belief into this phantom, its power to dictate your reality begins to fade. The energy you once used to shore up its walls, to defend its territory, to fulfill its endless demands, is gradually freed. And in that space, a quiet curiosity emerges. If this busy, worried, separate I is not who I am, then what remains? What is here when the story of me is not at the center of the universe? So you have looked. You have turned within, searching for that solid, separate self at the center of your storms, and found, perhaps to your surprise, not a thing to be found, but a space, a quiet awareness watching the search itself. This is not emptiness. It is the opposite. You have brushed against the reality of your being, not as a person with a story, but as the very consciousness in which the story appears. This consciousness is not yours personally. That is the crucial point. It is not a possession of the body or the mind. You do not have consciousness. You are consciousness. It is the canvas upon which every thought, sensation, and emotion is painted. It is the silent screen upon which the entire movie of your life, with all its drama, joy, and sorrow, plays out. Consider your own experience right now. You are aware of these words. You are aware of the room around you, the sensations in your body, the flow of your thoughts. That knowing presence, that aware space, is what you fundamentally are. Everything you experience is known by it, but it itself is not an experience. It is the experiencer, the ultimate subject that can never become an object. Think of the sky. Clouds of all shapes and sizes drift through it. Dark storm clouds of grief, fluffy white clouds of joy, fast moving clouds of anxiety. The sky holds them all, but it is untouched by them. A storm does not tear the sky. A radiant sunset does not stain it. The sky remains pure, vast, and unmoved. Your essential nature is like that sky. The passing weather of your life, the thoughts, the moods, the changing circumstances, occurs within you, but they are not you. You are the space that allows it all to be. You have spent a lifetime identifying with the clouds, believing, I am stormy, or I am radiant, never realizing your true identity as the boundless sky that can never be damaged or diminished. In daily life, this misidentification is the source of all fragility. When you believe you are the thought, you are at its mercy. An angry thought arises, and you become anger, lashing out. A fearful thought arises, and you become fear, contracting and hiding. But when you begin to sense yourself as the consciousness aware of the thought, a miraculous shift occurs. The angry thought may still arise, but there is now a subtle, silent space around it. You can see it as a passing mental event, a cloud in your sky. You are no longer compelled to act it out. You can watch it form, peak, and dissolve without becoming its puppet. This is true power, not control over the clouds, but the realization that you are the sky. Every moment offers an opportunity to remember this. You are stuck in traffic, and a familiar tension builds. Instead of falling headlong into the story of frustration, I'm going to be late. This always happens to me. Pause. Feel the sensation of tension in the shoulders. Hear the sound of the honking horn. See the red brake lights ahead. Who is aware of all this? The frustration is present, yes, but are you that? Or are you the aware? Knowing presence in which this entire scene, including the feeling called frustration, is unfolding, you are not denying the experience. You are discovering the dimension of yourself that is prior to it, that allows it, and yet is free of it. This knowing presence is not remote or abstract. It is the most intimate thing about you. It is closer than your next breath. It is what is looking out through your eyes right now. The mind, conditioned to objectify everything, wants to grasp it, define it, and put it in a box labeled spiritual. But it cannot be captured. It is the capturer. It is the light by which the mind itself is seen. You cannot think about consciousness. You can only be it. All your seeking has been this consciousness seeking to know itself through the frantic activity of thought, not realizing it could only ever find objects. Its nature is to be the subject. This is the great homecoming. You are not a fragment of consciousness trapped in a body. The body, the mind, the world appear within you, within this vast, intelligent, aware presence. The peace you have sought in future achievements, in perfected conditions, in the approval of others, is already and always the very substance of your being. It is not a mood that comes and goes. It is the foundational silence underneath every sound. When you touch this, even for a moment, the frantic search for external validation loses its grip. Why would the sky seek validation from a cloud? You begin to live from this stillness not as a withdrawal from life, but as a profound and grounded engagement with it. From this anchored silence, action flows clearly, love expresses without need, and life is lived not as a problem to be solved by a separate self, but as a spontaneous and intelligent unfolding within the one consciousness that you are. And so we come to the great turning point, the point where understanding moves from theory to lived reality. You have begun to sense yourself as the aware presence, the silent sky. But what then of the world itself? This seemingly solid, demanding, and separate realm of objects, people, and events that appears to surround you. It is here that the most liberating yet challenging truth must be confronted. The world you perceive is not an independent reality you are observing from a distance. It is a projection of your own state of consciousness, an outward expression of an inner landscape. This is not a call to solipsism, to a bleak and lonely universe of one. It is an invitation to profound responsibility and ultimate freedom. It means the condition of your mind, the quality of your consciousness, is the very lens through which all of life is filtered, colored, and interpreted. The world does not happen to you, it happens through you. This is the secret you have always known in your deepest heart, but have been conditioned to forget. Consider the simple, undeniable proof offered by your own experience. On a day when you feel burdened, anxious, and fragmented, the world reflects this state perfectly. The traffic is hostile, the news is apocalyptic, your interactions are strained. The entire universe seems aligned against you. Yet on another day, from a place of inner peace and clarity, the very same external circumstances can feel entirely different. The same street is full of life. The same challenges feel like opportunities. The same people seem kinder. What changed? The facts may be similar, but the world transformed because the consciousness perceiving it had shifted. Your mind is not a passive recorder of events. It is an active projector. Every judgment you hold, every fear you cherish, every belief in limitation you accept, is cast outward onto the screen of your perception and appears as your reality. The critical colleague, the insufficient funds, the unreliable friend, these are not merely external actors in a random play. They are mirrors reflecting back to you some unexamined aspect of your own consciousness. When you feel offended by a sharp word, Look not to the speaker, but to the raw place within you that resonated with the remark. That sensitivity is yours to heal. When you feel a gripping sense of lack, look not to your bank statement first, but to the consciousness of scarcity within you that is attracting and coloring every financial transaction. The world is an exact correspondence, a perfect feedback mechanism for your inner state. This is where your true work lies, not in rearranging the projected images, but in adjusting the projector. You spend immense energy trying to smooth out the wrinkles on the screen, demanding others change, manipulating circumstances, chasing after symbols of security, all while the projector lens remains smudged with old fears and conditioned beliefs. No amount of screen tidying will correct a blurry projection. The irritation you feel in a crowded store is not caused by the crowd. It is caused by your resistance to the experience, your belief that peace could be broken by an external condition. The crowd simply reveals that belief. In that moment, you have a choice far greater than merely enduring or escaping the situation. You can turn your attention inward to the source of the irritation, to the contracted sense of self that feels imposed upon. As you rest as the aware presence, acknowledging the sensation without becoming it, the entire experience on the screen, the noise, the closeness begins to lose its oppressive power. It is seen for what it is, a play of forms within your own awareness. This understanding dissolves the victim entirely. To see the world as a projection is to reclaim your sovereign power. You are no longer at the effect of a cruel or random universe. You are the central creative principle of your experience. This is not a burden, but the end of burden. It means that heaven and hell are not locations, but frequencies of consciousness. When your mind is turbulent, you walk through a world of conflict. When your mind is still and clear, you walk through a world of grace and synchronicity, because that is what you are projecting. The people who aggravate you are there by invitation to show you a hidden shadow. Problems that repeat are there as the most faithful of teachers, pointing to a recurring thought pattern you have yet to release. Begin to experiment with this in the smallest moments. When a minor annoyance arises, a spilled drink, a missed appointment, pause, instead of launching into the mental story of why this is bad. Turn your gaze 180 degrees inward. Ask, what is the quality of my consciousness right now? What belief about how things should be is being challenged? Watch as the outer event and your inner state are revealed as one seamless whole. The spilled drink is neutral. It is your consciousness of frustration that creates the experience of a problem. As you identify less with the reaction and more with the awareness witnessing it, something magical occurs. The projected world begins to soften. It loses its hard edges and its absolute authority. You start to perceive not just the forms, but the infinite consciousness that is forming them. The same consciousness that you are. The world ceases to be a prison of external events and becomes a living dialogue with your own self. Now you see the principle, the outer, is a reflection of the inner, a world conjured by the quality of your own consciousness. But this raises the most practical of questions. If I am to adjust the projector, how do I do it? How do I move from a consciousness of lack, fear, and separation to one of wholeness and peace? The mind immediately seeks a technique, a method, a new set of spiritual actions for the separate self to perform. But that is the old trap in a new disguise. You cannot force the sky to be calm. You can only cease stirring the water. The way is not one of effort, but of attention. It is the practice of inner listening. This is not listening to thoughts, to the clamoring voices of memory and desire. It is listening beneath them. It is turning the ear of the heart toward the silence out of which all sound arises. You are accustomed to a life of broadcasting your opinions, your worries, your plans, your reactions. Inner listening is the profound act of switching off the transmitter and becoming a perfect receiver. It is the conscious surrender of the mind's compulsive commentary to hear what is eternally being spoken in the quietness of your being. This listening is not passive. It is the most dynamic activity there is, for it aligns you with the creative source of all that is. Consider the moments in your life when a true solution, a moment of grace, or a flash of insight suddenly appeared. Recall its origin. Did it come from frantic thinking, from worrying the problem like a dog with a bone? Or did it arrive in a moment of quiet, when you had exhausted your own mental resources and, in a state of surrender, simply stopped? Perhaps while walking, or in the shower, or just upon waking. In that pause, that gap in the stream of thought, something else spoke. That is the territory of inner listening. It is not your personal mind at work. It is the infinite intelligence of your true nature communicating itself. Once the static of personal thinking is dialed down, make this your laboratory. You are sitting in a meeting and a tense debate erupts. The old habit is to immediately arm your position, to build louder and better arguments in your mind, to prepare your rebuttal. This is the noise of the separate self defending its ground. Now, instead, try listening. But listen not only to the words of others. Listen to the silence in the room underneath the words. Listen to the space between your own reactive thoughts. In that intentional pause, a different kind of intelligence may make itself known. Perhaps you see the fear behind the other person's aggression, and your response naturally softens. Perhaps a third, unifying perspective presents itself, not from your stored knowledge, but as a spontaneous knowing. This is the fruit of listening. You are no longer a combatant trapped in the drama. You have become a point of clarity within it. Or take a more intimate scene. You are arguing with a loved one, hurt and angry words flying. The temptation is to retreat into a fortress of self, righteousness, replaying your grievance, building your case. This only deepens the separation. Now, in the heat of it, if you can remember, turn your attention inward. Listen. Listen to the raw sensation of the emotion in your body, the heat, the tightness. Listen past your own story of blame. In that very act of inner listening, something shifts. The identification with the hurt, I, loosens. You may still be aware of the emotion, but you are no longer drowning in it. From that clearer space, your next words, if words are even needed, will not come from the reaction, but from a deeper place of understanding. The argument often just dissolves because its fuel, the two separate selves clashing, has been removed. This practice is not reserved for quiet meditation rooms. It is for the marketplace, the kitchen, the traffic jam. It begins with a simple, moment-by-moment redirection of attention. When a worry about the future grips you, don't follow the terrifying movie it projects. Instead, listen. Ask inwardly, what is here right now beneath this story? Feel the aliveness in your hands. Hear the actual sounds around you. This anchors you in the present reality of consciousness, not the imagined future of thought. When a craving or an impulse arises, listen to the emptiness it is trying to fill. You will find the impulse often loses its command over you because you are no longer identified with its voice. You are the one listening to it. This inner listening is, in truth, prayer. Not prayer as petition, asking a separate God for things, but prayer as communion, an attentive, receptive openness to the divine presence that is your own essence. It is sitting in the stillness until the chatter subsides and you become aware of a profound fullness, an intelligent peace that was there all along. It requires no special posture, only sincerity. You are not trying to hear something new. You are allowing yourself to become aware of the eternal signal that has always been broadcasting, the signal of your own wholeness. As you make a habit of this, of tuning the instrument of your attention away from the noise and toward this silent frequency, your entire life begins to harmonize with it. The projected world starts to reflect back less chaos and more of this inherent order. Not because you have manipulated it, but because you have finally stilled the projector and allowed the original, perfect image to shine through. The discipline of inner listening gradually attunes you to a new frequency, a foundational hum beneath the noise of daily events. As you listen, a remarkable discovery awaits. You begin to discern that this silent awareness is not empty, but overwhelmingly full. It is not a blank void, but a vibrant, intelligent, creative presence. This is the substance of your being, the very fabric from which all experience is woven. It is the living presence, and it is the only reality you will ever need. We spend our lives in a frantic search for substance in the world of form. We believe our security is in the bank account, our value is in our accomplishments, our sustenance is in the food we eat, our strength is in our physical health. These are not the sources, they are the temporary, ever-changing expressions. They are the waves upon the ocean, mistaking themselves for the water itself. When you anchor your sense of self in these forms, you are forever vulnerable, for they are by nature impermanent. The bank account fluctuates, the body ages, accomplishments fade, relationships change. To build your identity upon them is to build your house upon sand. The living presence is the rock. It is the unchanging, ever-present source from which all forms temporarily arise. You have felt this, though you may have misnamed it. That sudden, unexpected surge of peace in the midst of chaos, where did it come from? It was not manufactured by your mind. It emerged from the depths of your being. That burst of creative insight that solved a problem you had struggled with for weeks. It did not come from your personal intellect grinding away. It was a gift from the infinite intelligence of the living presence flowing through the channel of a quieted mind. That profound sense of love you felt holding a child or witnessing a sunset, that felt larger than your personal heart, that was the living presence, loving itself through you. These are not mystical exceptions. They are glimpses of your true nature breaking through the clutter of a mind focused exclusively on form. Your daily life is a constant opportunity to exchange the symbol for the substance. You sit down to a meal. The conditioned mind sees only the food, judges it, worries about its effects, consumes it hastily to fill a void. But what if, before eating, you paused for a moment of inner listening? You become aware of the aliveness in your hands, the gratitude in your heart, the miracle of the senses that allow you to experience taste and nourishment. In that moment, you are no longer just consuming a form. You are communing with the substance, the living intelligence that arranged the atoms into this food, the same intelligence that animates your body to receive it. The act becomes sacred, not because of the food, but because of the conscious recognition of the presence in it, and as you consider your work. You may see it as a means to an end, a transaction of time for money. This is seeing only the form, and it leads to fatigue and emptiness. But what if your work became an arena to express this living presence? You turn to a task not with the thought, I must do this to get paid, but from the quiet sense, I am the intelligence and creativity of the universe, appearing here as this action. The same hands type the email, but they are animated by a different source. The frustration of a difficult project transforms into the engaged curiosity of the presence expressing itself through a challenge. You are no longer a limited person trying to extract value from the world. You are the infinite substance, pouring itself into form as service, as artistry, as solution. This is the great secret of supply. You worry about lack because you are looking at the level of form, the dwindling numbers, the limited opportunities. The living presence operates from infinite creative potential. Your role is not to beg or strive from a place of emptiness, but to become so consciously aligned with this substance that you become a clear conduit for its expression. When you need an idea, you listen. When you need a solution, you become quiet. When you need provision, you turn your faith not to a job, but to the creative principle itself, knowing it can and will manifest through 1,000 different forms you could never plan. Your security is not in having, but in knowing what you are. A wave is never insecure about the ocean running out of water. Feel this right now. The body you inhabit, the air you breathe, the life that animates you. This is not a borrowed, temporary gift from a distant God. It is the immediate, palpable evidence of the living presence being you. The love you feel for another is this presence loving its own creation. The peace you seek is this presence resting in its own nature. As you practice this recognition, moving through your days, not as a consumer of experiences, but as the very substance experiencing itself, a deep and unshakable assurance grows. You are not navigating a hostile world. You are the intelligent, loving, abundant reality, consciously appearing as the journey. The forms will come and go, but you, as this presence, remain the source, the sustenance, and the fulfillment of all that appears. We have walked this ground together from the illusion of a separate self to the recognition of the living presence as your only substance. Now we arrive at the culmination, the point where all previous understanding finds its natural and effortless expression. This is not a new step to be taken, but a letting go of all steps. It is the transformation through realization, not effort. You have sought to become spiritual, to achieve peace, to attain oneness. I tell you, this seeking itself is the final barrier. You cannot attain what you already and eternally are. The moment you shift from striving to seeing, from practice to pure recognition, the entire structure of the seeker and the sought collapses, and what remains is the reality that was never absent. All effort belongs to the realm of the separate self. It is the I trying to improve itself to become holier, wiser, or more peaceful. It is the wave trying to become wetter. This effort, however noble its aim, reinforces the very sense of separation you wish to transcend. It keeps you in the future in the state of not yet. Your spiritual practices, your hours of meditation, your study, these can quiet the mind and prepare the ground, but they can never produce the flower of realization. That flower blooms of itself when the conditions of seeking are removed. When you stop trying to grab the wind, you finally feel it on your face. The goal of all true work is to bring you to the point where you are utterly finished with trying, and in that exhaustion of the personal will, something else is revealed. Look at your own experience with a clear eye. Have you not spent years, perhaps decades, trying to fix yourself, trying to be less angry, more patient, less afraid? And what has been the result? Moments of success followed by familiar failures, a cyclical battle that leaves you wary. This is because you have been trying to rearrange the clouds while believing you are the cloud. The moment you have the direct, unshakable recognition, I am the sky, the entire project of cloud management becomes obsolete. The clouds may still come and go, patterns of thought and emotion conditioned over a lifetime, but they are no longer your identity, your problem, or your mission. You watch them pass with a gentle, impersonal curiosity. This is not an attainment. It is a relaxing into what is already true. Consider a moment of simple, wordless joy. Perhaps watching light dance on water or hearing a child's genuine laughter. In that instant, were you trying to be happy? Were you employing a technique? No. Your mind was simply quiet, fully present, and the joy arose spontaneously. It was not manufactured. It was revealed as the natural state of being when the noisy I gets out of the way. Realization is like that, but all-encompassing. It is the permanent, background recognition of the sky, like nature of your being, regardless of the weather passing through. The peace you sought is not a mood to be created. It is the foundation that becomes apparent when you stop creating turmoil. This is why the most profound shifts often occur not in fervent striving, but in a moment of surrender. It happens when you are tired. Tired of your own story, tired of the internal struggle, tired of pretending you are the manager of a universe. In that exhaustion, you give up. And in that giving up, a space opens. You are not giving up on life, but on the fictional director you believed was running the show. In that space, intelligence operates on its own. Life lives itself. You find yourself acting with clarity, loving without motive, speaking with an authority that is not your own, because the separate mediator has stepped aside. An artist lost in the flow of creation is not efforting. She is being moved by a creative intelligence greater than her personal mind. That is a glimpse of living from realization. So what is asked of you now? Not more effort, but less. Not more accumulation of spiritual knowledge, but a courageous subtraction. It is to stop, to pause in the middle of your mental and physical business and ask, who is the one trying? Who is the seeker here? Look for that one. And as you have done before, you will not find an entity, only a thought, a persistent idea of a separate someone on a journey. See that idea clearly. See that it is just another cloud in the vast sky of your awareness. The seeing itself is the transformation. The more consistently you see the seeker as an object in consciousness, and not as yourself, the more its power drains away. The search ends because you realize you are what you were searching for. The separate self was a ghost looking for its own substance in a mirror, never realizing it was the mirror itself. From this point, life is not a self-improvement project. It is a spontaneous unfolding. You will still engage with the world. You will work, relate, create. But it will be the living presence expressing itself as these actions. Challenges will arise, but they will be met not by a personal you mustering resources, but by the infinite intelligence of your true nature, responding perfectly to what is before it. There is no one to transform, only a misperception to be seen through. And once seen, it cannot be unseen. You walk through your days not as a person who has realized something, but as the very reality, awake to itself, playing freely and effortlessly in the field of time and space. The unity you forgot was never lost. It was only overlooked by a thought that believed it was separate. When that thought dissolves in the light of your own attention, what remains is simply, gloriously, what has always been the one self, being all.